local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Everyone, this is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us. I want to pull that up. A live shot of downtown Portland. That is quite a different look that we had earlier in the week. Obviously, the weather is pretty great. You can't quite see the ships down there, but you can see Mount St. Helens, and that's a pretty cool look as well. Again, thanks for joining us. We are here every weekday starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, and we go throughout the afternoon covering a wide range of segments. We're on Facebook, YouTube, our website, and our apps, so lots of places to find us. But today, we're going to be playing an interview that I had with Shannon Walker of Northwest Battle Buddies. This is an organization that provides service dogs, comfort dogs, really, for vets who are suffering with PTSD. Very important thing. And she was able to come into the studio, and I'm going to say there is a very, very cute puppy that is during this interview named Dunn. So Dunn is part of the interview as well. You'll see him. You won't be able to take your eyes off of him, but the message that Shannon has is very important, and just some really important work they do dealing and helping so many different veterans who are suffering through so many different things. So we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to go ahead and play this right now. Here it is, Shannon from Northwest Battle Buddies. Okay, except I can't stop doing this. All right. Shannon, thank you so much for coming in here and joining us today. I have to admit, I'll say this just for everybody who's watching this. Before we even started this interview, pretty much everybody in the station has cycled through here to meet your pal here.
Yes.
And to start off, can you tell us who this is that you have?
So this is Dunn. Dunn is actually, in about 18 months, he's going to be serving an American hero, a veteran for the Northwest Battle Buddy Service Dog Program. He's going to be a PTSD service dog, and Dunn was actually named after, so we have one of our trainers in the military had a working dog named Dunn, and then that dog was named after a Vietnam veteran named Dunn. And so the legacy goes on with this little guy.
So the name Dunn continuing on onto this guy. And even to back up too, can you tell us, about Battle Buddies and how this got started?
Yeah, absolutely. So Northwest Battle Buddies, I founded it about 12 and a half years ago. And the reason I founded it, so I've been a professional dog trainer for almost 30 years now.
Wow.
And when I had a veteran come into my business, he was looking for help. He wanted his dog to be trained to serve him, for his PTSD. And it all kind of started with my dad. So my dad, because Kevin was a veteran when he walked into my business, he got my attention. And the reason he got my attention is because the way I was raised. My dad served during the Korean War, and he taught me that when you're in the presence of a veteran, you're in the presence of a hero, even though he never considered himself one. So when Kevin came into my business, he got my attention. And I trained service dogs before, but never for veterans with PTSD. And through the process, I just was going to do what I did. So I assessed his dog. She had temperament enough. He left her with me for many months. And when it came time for him to start his training, because that's where it really counts, is we train the dogs, but then it's all about the handler in any situation. When he started training his dog, I learned about the suicide rate amongst our American heroes of 22 veterans a day. I'd also learned that 6 of the men that he had served in his unit, that he had served with, after coming home, 6 of them had committed suicide on American soil.
Wow.
I saw him struggle. He self-medicated. He was addicted to illegal drugs. He was clean at this time. And all of that, understanding what he was living with, trying to understand what he was truly living with, because he was still paying a price for my freedom, even though he wasn't putting a uniform on anymore. So that was profound to me. But then when I saw him work his dog, that's where it changed for me. Because when we were out in public, I saw him find courage inside himself to lead her where he was afraid to go alone. And I saw him be willing to do for her what he wouldn't even do for himself.
Wow.
And when we finished our training, I was watching him walk away. And I've accomplished a lot of things in the dog world. I've been honored with a lot of things, and I've worked internationally and done a lot of things. But when I was watching him walk away with his now service dog, I truly significantly felt like I'd made the difference in somebody's life. I mean, his head was up, his shoulders were back, he was walking proud. And so for me, that was kind of going to be the end. It was an amazing experience, but it wasn't until veterans started to come to my business, and they were looking for dogs.
The word got out.
And they knew Kevin before he had Sammy as a service dog, and they knew him after, and they saw the change in him. So they started coming looking for dogs, and I didn't have dogs to give them. And in my simple-minded thinking, I thought, if I can just adopt dogs out of shelters, I can train them, and I can gift them, and I can say thank you for my freedom. And that was over 250 service dogs ago.
Wow.
In 12 years. And the amazing thing is we have not lost one veteran to suicide. Not one.
That's incredible. I have so many questions just about that. I mean, going to the training side, you know, you mentioned bringing a dog from a shelter.
Yes.
So a shelter, so that dog could have a different kind of background on its own, you know,
Yes.
of course. And so how do you go about that, determining which dog or how to train a dog for something like this?
I've done this a long time.
Yeah,
so,
clearly
you
the
know,
years.
I mean, I know how to train dogs, but more importantly, you know, training dogs is super important, obviously. That's a stupid statement, but
Yeah.
But you've got to be able to recognize what you're looking at temperament-wise. So when I would go to the shelters, I was looking for dogs that were social, that were young enough, had temperament, right off the bat, seemed friendly. And then, you know, we would check out their health, and then we would adopt them out. I mean, the first shelter I went to, they checked out my reputation, and I was able to walk away with 5 dogs right then for free, put them in my kennel that was on my where I live, and we just got started. And so, but I mean, it takes a lot of expertise, because there is no substitute for time and repetition in the training and the expertise of it. And I will tell you, we're one of the largest service dog providers in the United States, and we need to be, because our waiting list right now for veterans is 105. We have 105 veterans waiting right now for a service dog. We have had we're 12 and a half years old, and we have the largest influx of applications this year than ever. It is not slowing down. And we're one of the largest providers. We've provided 40 dogs. We will have provided 40 dogs this year. And we are one of the largest providers in the United States. And we're nationwide. We have veterans in 26 states. But when you do the math, 105 veterans, they're waiting over 2 years.
Yeah.
With a suicide rate of 22 veterans a day. So the lift is heavy. The need is great for finances and support from the American people. But we're making a difference, and our American heroes, they deserve everything that we can give them.
I mean, you're making a huge difference, obviously, even just with how many you've provided so far,
Yeah.
but 105 waiting, and that means it really is working. And for those, you know, you mentioned a veteran who had a hard time going out into public, but then when he had his dog, it gave him that confidence, and he was able to go out and do that. Why do you think that is? What is it about the dog that gives him that confidence?
It's everything. You know, that's such a great question. When we work with the veterans, number one, everything that we teach about leadership, structure, discipline, muscle memory, habits, it all goes to their training. And they were designed, they were trained to lead. They were trained to have a battle buddy. When they go into the military, they're assigned a battle buddy immediately. In fact, it was a veteran that came up with the name Northwest Battle Buddies. So not only, but it's also what the dog gives back through it's about relationship, and then good obedience and structure makes the relationship as well. But that dog is a tool. The service dog is a tool that ends up filling a void, because we're dealing with invisible wounds of war that nobody can see, but the dog can see it. The dog can smell it. The dog can smell the adrenaline in a panic attack, in a flashback, in an anxiety attack. The dogs are waking our veterans up for nightmares. You know, we can have veterans doing an interview like this, some of our more seasoned ones, and, you know, the dog may be in a down command at their feet, and then they start to get anxious, they get emotional. The dog will break the down command, come up into their space, lick their hands, lick their face, bring them back to the moment of now. We teach those veterans how to use the dog as a tool to ground themselves when they're in public before they spiral out. The dog is a tool, so it becomes a lifeline, because they learn where the dog fills the void for them. It becomes a tool that is imperative for their freedom and independence, no different than a wheelchair is to a paraplegic, or a cane is to anybody, or a walker that needs it, or even like a seizure detection dog for somebody who has epilepsy. They learn to rely on the tool to navigate life safely. And that is where the life support that these dogs become when it's done right. And that's what we do. And it's such an honor. So often our veterans, they'll thank us. You know, and I just tell them, it's like, it's our honor to walk your walk of freedom with you. Because when they're going through the malls and they're going, you know, people go to Walmart and grab milk and don't even think about it. They just go in and out, and they're just busy thinking. Our veterans plan their whole life around it. They plan the day around it. They don't go, or they go with their service person, or they race in, they race out. It ends up being this huge panic-stricken event where some of them haven't done it in decades. We have veterans that will walk with their service dog in the mall for the first time in decades. because they have their service dog at their side and they're learning how to use that tool and they're learning it will work for them and they learn to trust it. And the barriers fall, their emotions start to come out. You know, I could talk for weeks about all the stories of our veterans, and it's amazing.
I mean, it's incredible just what that can do to give them their life back, you know, for somebody who's going through all that. As you mentioned, it's an invisible wound, you know, unless you've gone through it or even somebody's personal experience, you're not going to know what that is. And so when it comes to these dogs, I have to ask about Dunn right here. So Dunn, can you tell us, you know, what kind of breed is Dunn and how does...
Yeah, he is an English cream golden retriever.
Okay.
And so we still take dogs out of shelters, or they're, a lot of times, because people know about us, they will bring us a dog that is on their way to a shelter.
Wow.
So we can assess it ahead of time, which is great, because then we don't have to go to the shelters. But we also do purpose-bred dogs. So we will breed English cream golden retrievers like Dunn, or we will also breed English labs. And the reason that we do that, we do have German Shepherds in our program. We have Pit Bulls in our program from the very beginning. And just we are not breed specific. We also use Australian Labradoodles that are donated for hypoallergenic and things like that from breeders. But what's important, and one of the reasons we are purpose breeding, is because we do provide a large number of service dogs to veterans, and they are in the workforce, or they want to be. And so a lot of people are intimidated by German Shepherds or Pit Bulls or the harder breeds. So, and anytime a veteran is trying to get a job with a service dog, that is their first major obstacle, because of fake service dogs out there, because of ignorance. A lot of employers just don't know the law, or they are concerned about what it's going to mean in their environment if they have a dog that might be unruly or something. And of course our dogs are not. They're extremely excellently trained. But my point is that nobody wants to necessarily come into an office and see a German Shepherd. We don't want to provide a breed that can be intimidating for our veterans to walk with, because it could be one more obstacle on top of all the obstacles they're having to overcome. And plus we have a lot of children, even though all of our dogs are temperamentally sound, a lot of children in the homes now and all that kind of stuff. So it's really important for donor dollars, longevity. We're hoping these service dogs will serve their veterans for 10 to 12 years. We provide the dogs prior to the age of 2 years, so they have a long service life with their handler. But it's really important to make sure that those donor dollars, that we do our due diligence and our health clearances and our breeds and our genetics and our training and everything that we require, so we can get the maximum investment. These dogs cost us $25,000 by the time we gift them to our veterans.
Wow.
They're 100% free to our American heroes, but they cost $25,000. So that's why we need people to help us.
Yeah, how does the funding work for that? How are you able to do that?
Well, we rely on people like you. We rely on people like your viewers. Thank you so much, by the way, for allowing this platform for us to share our story and to let people know about Northwest Battle Buddies. Super grateful for that. It's the American people. The American people that love their freedom and the men and women provided are the ones that support these dogs. We have an amazing monthly giving program called Operation Never Quit, where it's a monthly giving program that helps sustain us. We do fundraisers. We have people who do fundraisers for us. We get the word out, but we really rely on the American people to join us, because, you know, my dad always said, you don't know what you don't know. And when I started Northwest Battle Buddies, I would tell people, I'm just a dog trainer. That I just want to train a dog and say thank you for my freedom. I had no idea that I was going to now become, as a CEO, an expert, or have to learn about, fundraising and compliances and 501c3. There's so much to it, but it really is about asking the American people to lock arms with us. And so I tell people, it's like the idea of Northwest Battle Buddies was just a dream until the first donor opened their hand and put wind in our sails and put it in motion. And it's our donors that put this in motion.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible. So you're able to do this, provide all of these, service dogs. As you mentioned, there's, I think maybe this was beforehand, but there's a big waiting list.
Yes.
And looking at Dunn, just to understand the process, so how old is Dunn's, 10?
He's 10 weeks.
10 weeks?
He'll be 10
okay.
weeks at the end of this week, and he just kind of got tuckered out here. So he's going to go into a foster home at the end of this week.
Okay.
And he will be raised for 8 to 10 months, and he's going to be part of the family. We work with people about just regular home obedience, and and people can foster puppies for us. They can help raise our puppies. That is a huge benefit. But he's going to go be a part of the family. And then when it's scheduled, he will come in, very likely right around 12 months old, back to me. and with all of his other 11 litter mates, and they will train for 5 months with us. And then after we train for 5 months, our veterans come in, and we usually start with a group of 14 veterans. They come from all across the nation, and they train for 5 weeks. They pass their testing, and they get educated, and they learn how to navigate life with excellence with a service dog at their side. We pair the dog specifically to their lifestyle, to their physical ability, to their age, to if they're working. Because even though we have 12 dogs that came from the same litter, they are going to have different energy levels. They're going to have different personalities. So we have to be very, very careful about how we pair them to make sure it's the right match. And then once they pass their testing, then after the 5 weeks, we gift them the dogs. 3 months later, they come back and retest, and then 9 months later, they retest, and then every year after that, they recertify, which just means they come run their public access test for the life of the dog.
Wow.
So we have eyes on these dogs for the life of the dog. We have over 250 veterans coming back every year into Battleground, Washington, going out in public. We're getting weights, medical records, everything on the dogs. And because I tell our veterans, the veterans, you know, they're our mission. I mean, they are our passion. We are serving the veterans, but the dogs are our responsibility. And so we oversee this dog's life till the end of their life.
And I know you just had, I believe it was a graduation ceremony this last weekend. Can you tell us, like, what's that like? What's a graduation ceremony?
Okay, so we just had a donor event last Saturday, but in 4 weeks we have a graduation.
That's what it is. So
we have a graduation. You know what? It is so transforming. Our graduation. So the very first day of the 5 weeks is when we meet the veterans personally. They've spoke with our veteran liaison and other members of the Northwest Battle Buddy team, but when they come in and meet the trainers, we only know them on paper and their medical and everything else. But that's where we get to know them, and then we're meeting them in person to make sure the dog we've paired with them we feel is the right match based on what that human and what that veteran is projecting. You know, do we match them right? And sometimes they're thrown up in the parking lot. They're so stressed. Sometimes their head is down, they can barely speak to us, they're shaken, sometimes they're fighting back tears because they are afraid to hope. They're coming into the unknown, they don't know that they can trust us. They're just praying to God something's gonna make a difference in their life. And that first day is rough. But 5 weeks later, they are standing in front of a crowd holding a microphone talking to 100 people, talking about how this dog has already started changing their life. And their families are there, and we celebrate and we eat, and we celebrate them because they're on their road to healing. And I always have this quote that the day before the veteran meets their service dog, it's their last worst day. And the day they meet their service dog is their first best day.
Wow.
And it has proven to be true for over 250 veterans.
That's amazing.
You know, yeah.
And more to come.
Absolutely,
you know?
Absolutely.
For everybody out there, let's say for the veterans first that may be out there, that may be interested in this. I know you have a huge waiting list, but if one of the veterans wanted to find out about this, or one of their family members, or to get involved, or even maybe apply for a dog,
absolutely.
How do they do that?
Absolutely. Go to northwestbattlebuddies.org, and don't let the waiting list defer you, because just because there's 105 veterans on that list doesn't mean you have to be 106. You might get in 2 or 3 months because you got all your information in. Your life lined up, and you could come in 5 weeks. So we have some veterans that, even though it's 105 veterans on that list, it might take them 3 months to come in. So don't let that be a deterrent. northwestbattlebuddies.org. All of the information is there of how to qualify. If you are a family member and you know of a veteran, that is needing something. They're needing hope. You know, we have veterans that have been on 30. We have a veteran right now. He's on 36 medications a day to cope. 36 medications to cope. We have another veteran that got one of our dogs a few years ago. He was on 32 medications a day. Now he's on one. He's on one medication a day. So it doesn't matter how bleak somebody's situation is, or if they have lost hope, trust the other veterans that are trusting us. Because that's what I tell our veterans when they do graduate. You are the mission in action. You will bring hope to another veteran that has lost hope. You will prove to him there is another day coming. You know? So for the veterans, reach out. We want to help them. We love them. Any veteran that gets one of our service dogs becomes part of our family. You know? So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, Shannon, thank you so much for coming in to talk about this.
Oh,
what
it
you're
was
doing and
my
helping
pleasure.
everybody out. And thank you to Dunn here, who's now tired. But
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, we really appreciate you being here and what you're doing. And thanks for sharing the story.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, so really incredible story there just about some of the work that they're doing to help out those veterans. And again, I said it there at the end, but we appreciate Shannon and Northwest Battle Buddies and, of course, Dunn also for coming in here and joining us. If you're watching live, thank you. If you're watching afterward, that's great as well. Don't forget there's the Fox 12 Oregon app on whatever platform you're on. I encourage you to download that. If you are watching live, coming up at 2 p.m., we're going to switch gears from this to talking about flying venomous spiders. There is a lot of conversations going on about that, and they are on the East Coast, but people here in Oregon are starting to get a little concerned. We've got a pet expert who's going to join us at 2 p.m. to talk about that. So definitely you want to come back to whatever platform you're on and join me then, and we'll find out more about these flying venomous spiders. But in the meantime, thanks for joining us. Again, this is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. I appreciate you being here.